Jungkook held Ryan like he's the very air he needs to breathe. He pulled her closer, burying his face in her hair, inhaling the soft, familiar scent that brought him a sense of peace he couldn't find anywhere else. I'm not letting you go. We are going to fight this, okay? For us, for Lily. She smiled faintly, resting her head on his chest. In that quite vulnerable moment, she allowed herself to melt into his embrace, her hand clutching the fabric of his shirt as if she was afraid that if she let go, the world around them would collapse. Lily, Mommy, Daddy! Lily's soft melodic voice broke through the silence as they looked up to see her standing in the doorway, drowsy and rubbing her eyes. Jungkook smiled softly and stretched his arms out, and Lily toddled over, falling directly into his embrace and nestling her tiny body against his chest. Wyan gently stroked Lily's hair as she nestled close to them. In that moment, Jungkook felt complete. Nothing else in the world mattered. This was his family, and he would do whatever it took to protect them. Jungkook laying beside her, watching her face pale and tired, a shadow of the cheerful, sweet woman she used to be. Jungkook, how did we end up here, Ryan? After we finally opened to each other, we were starting to be happy, but then you left, and now this. Why? His voice broke into a whisper, barely audible, a swallowed hard, holding her tightly as if his bare weakness might somehow cause her to slip away. Suddenly, Ryan's eyes fluttered open, as if sensing him. She found him awake, looking at her. A soft, sleepy smile tugged at her lips. Despite the exhaustion, she reached up, gently brushing her fingers against his cheek. Why, did you even sleep? He managed a faint smile, though his eyes betrayed the pain he couldn't hide. Jungkook, maybe I can't help it. You are too beautiful to look away. He nestled closer, but Ryan could see the worry in his eyes, her smile fading as she realized he was trying to hide his fear. Ryan, Jungkook, are you scared? For a moment he simply stared, as if searching for strength, his gaze filled with a mix of ability and longing. The woman he wanted to hold close to his heart had slipped away once, and now as he feared losing her again for forever, the thought was too much to bear. Jungkook, I'm tired, Ryan. I can't lose you. I would not survive it. There was a rawness in his voice that betrayed his strength, a silent confession of how deeply afraid he is. Ryan, you don't have to. I will fight, Jungkook. No matter how hard it gets, I will fight for us this time. Jungkook, we'll fight together. They held each other's gaze, the silence thick with unspoken word. He leaned down, pressing a fierce, desperate kiss to her forehead, as if pouring all his fear and love into that one touch. They sat across from Dr. Min Yoongi, a renowned neurosurgeon in the country, their hearts heavy with the fear and hope, but Jungkook's desperation could not be hidden. Jungkook, please, Dr. Min, you are our last hope. We have a little daughter who needs her, and so do I. Please, you have to help us. Jungkook's voice broke, the fear that had been building in him since he got to know about it, now pouring out in a torrent. Jungkook, no, she will survive. She has to. You have to do something. Please, Dr. Min. Dr. Min shook his head, his voice firm and even colder this time. Dr. Min, I'm sorry, but this is not a decision to take lightly. You have to understand there's a very real chance. Jungkook clenches his fist, his eyes bleeding, his tone shifting to one of responsibility. Jungkook, I can't lose without her. Please, Dr. Min, you have to try for her, for our daughter. He pleaded while, though pale and exhausted, squeezed his hand, his voice unwavering despite the storm inside her. Wyan, please, Dr. Min, I want to live. I have to. For our daughter, for him. She met Jungkook's gaze and then Dr. Min's gaze, determination clear in her eyes. Dr. Min's gaze softened slightly, but he was still hesitant. Dr. Min, you both are asking for a miracle, but it's a risk. I don't take slightly. There's a no certainty. Jungkook turned to Wyan, her gaze steady, her resolve unshakable. He nodded slowly, meeting Dr. Min's gaze once more. Jungkook, we are willing to take that risk. Dr. Min, whatever it takes, please, we need to try. Something in their shared resolve softened Dr. Min's heart. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Dr. Min sighed, his stern expression finally giving way to flicker of compassion. Dr. Min, if you are both sure, I'll prepare her. But understand there is no turning back. The results are uncertain. It's like shooting an arrow in the dark, but I'll try. They both nodded, holding each other's hands tightly, knowing this was the only chance they had left. Their hearts beat as one, desperate yet resolute. Now, Jungkook devoted himself entirely to Wyan's care. He brought her back to their house, the one he had bought as a surprise for her birthday, but their divorce had shattered that dream. He took charge of everything, her medication, her meals, her routine, and every doctor's appointment. He watched over her constantly, his love for her evident in each small act of care. There were times when Wyan grew frustrated, throwing small tantrums as she longed for her old strength, but Jungkook was always there to weather her storms. He held her through her dizzy spells, stayed up with her during her headaches, and somehow, despite it all, managed to make her laugh. Sometimes he even took over the kitchen, preparing meals with Lily in his arms, his voice soft as he sang lullabies to their daughter. As evening rolled around and they gathered for dinner, the maids were already setting out the dishes, chuckling as they watched the little family enjoy their time together. Wyan sat in her chair while Jungkook maid Lily was sat at the table, and surprised everyone by rushing into the kitchen. He grabbed an apron, tying it around his waist, and turned to face Wyan and Lily with a playful grin. Jungkook, alright ladies, the chef is in. What do you want to eat? He declared, and Wyan raised an eyebrow, stifling a laugh. Wyan, Jungkook, the food's already prepared, but he waved her off, glancing over his shoulder with a confident smirk. Jungkook, prepared? Well, maybe, but I bet I can make it better. Lily, my princess, what do you feel like eating tonight? Your dad's got this. Lily clapped her hands excitedly, loving the attention. Lily, pancakes, daddy? Jungkook, pancakes for dinner. Perfect choice, sweetheart. Jungkook said with enthusiasm, winking at her. He set to work mixing up pancakes batter with an exaggerated focus that had both Wyan and Lily giggling. Wyan, are you sure you know what you are doing in there, Mr. Chef? Jungkook turned to her, whisk in hand. Jungkook, hey, I'm a man of many talent, he teased. Just wait till you see my pancake flipping skills. Wyan leaned on her elbow, watching him fondly. Lily rested her head on her head, and together both watched the precious man in their life. As he prepared the pancakes, he turned on some music, dancing and tossing the spatula in the air like a pro. Lily cheered him on, laughing with bright eyes when Jungkook finally brought out a stack of slightly uneven but lovingly made pancakes. They all dug in, laughter and chatter filling the room. In that moment, Wyan's heart felt a rare lightness, realizing that maybe, just maybe, they were building something stronger this time. But peace didn't last long. After dinner, as they were resting in living room, the front door bell rang and maid went to open, and Jungkook's parents entered, their faces hard with disapproval. Jungkook looked at them. All the words of Wyan, the past memories, rang in his mind. Mrs. Cheon, where have you been, Jungkook? No calls, no updates. What's going on? Her voice was sharp, the words like dagger. Wyan's heart skipped a beat, and she instinctively pulled Lily closer to her chest. The fear in Wyan's eyes didn't go unnoticed. Jungkook felt a sharp pang in his chest, realizing the weight of his family's word on her. The guilt was suffocating. He could see how small she felt in front of his parents. His love for her burned hotter now as he crouched down, voice softening. Jungkook, sweetheart, Mama and Daddy needs to talk. Why don't you go and play with Bam for a bit? Lily hesitated, looked to her mother for reassurance. Wyan gave her a gentle note, her heart aching for the innocence she had to shield from his world. As Lily left, Jungkook's posture shifted, becoming defensive. He stepped between Ryan and his parents, his body a barrier and his gaze hardening as the tension grew thick in the room. Mrs. Jeon, so she's back. Hasn't she caused enough damage? Why would you bring her back after everything she has done? Jungkook, what exactly she do? Why do you her so much, mom? Jungkook's chest tightened. The words felt like they were piercing him from all sides. His heart ached with the weight of the truth of his parents, but he couldn't stand hearing them speak about her this way anymore. He didn't know if he could ever understand it, the way they treated the woman he loved, the mother of his child. He just couldn't comprehend it anymore. Mr. John, you're asking me? She took your daughter and left. Did you forget? Jungkook, she took her daughter, the one you never wanted. So what's the issue now? He felt the fire on his anger rising, his hands balled into fists at his sides. The injustice of it all, how his family treated Ryan, how they had treated their own granddaughter was eating him alive. Mrs. Jeon, the issue is she can't give you an heir. Didn't you remember what the doctor said? She will never be a mother again. What good is she if she can't give you a son to carry on the Jeon name? The words hit Jungkook like a blow to his chest. The suffocating weight of his family's expectation bore down on him. He thought of Ryan, her love, her strength, her everything she had already given him. Is she really how they see her, how they see us? Jungkook, so you were right all along. You tried to tear us apart and I was too blind to see it. I can't believe this. You did this to me. His voice cracked with emotion, and for a moment he was just a son trying to reconcile the love he had for his family with the betrayal that now clung to his soul. His mother had always wanted him to choose her legacy, her name, but now that he had made his own family, his choice was clear. Mrs. John, yes, I did, because he is not enough. She can't give you the family you need. The next John here. Jungkook shook his head, his emotions spilling out understained. He couldn't hide his anymore. Jungkook, I don't care about your empire. I don't need an heir. I love Ryan, and that's enough. Lily is everything to me. Do you understand? He had hoped, desperately hoped, that his parents would understand, would see that his love for Ryan was a love that couldn't be measured in bloodlines or business deals. But deep down, he knew they won't. Mrs. John, you're blinded by emotion. You're forgetting that after you, this empire needs a man to carry on the John name. This love you're consumed by will give you nothing. Jungkook's face twisted with anger, but there was a deep sorrow beneath it. Why can't they just see her? Why can't they just see the truth? His heart ached for the woman who had stood by him, loved him without question when he was all busy to please his parents. They are talking like this about his wife. Jungkook, the Jeon name means nothing to me without Ryan. If this so-called legacy is more important than her dignity, then maybe it's not a legacy worth carrying on. His voice trembled with the truth. The pain of it all, of realizing that his own family had put a price on her love, was almost too much to bear. Mr. Jeon, so you'll throw it all away for her, risk everything for a woman who can't even. Jungkook, enough. The word cut through the air, final and unyielding. He stepped closer to his father, his gaze unflinching. He was done compromising, done apologizing for loving Ryan. She was everything to him, and no one, especially not his parents, could change that. Jungkook, Ryan is my life. If she can't give me an heir, so be it. I would rather have her by my side than an outdated notion of legacy. His voice was firm, but the emotion was heavy in every word. His heart was raw, but he refused to show weakness, not now, not in front of them. For Ryan, for Lily, he had to be strong. Mrs. John, think carefully. This love will fade and you will be left all alone with no one to carry on your bloodline. What then? Jungkook felt the weight of those words sink deep into his chest, but he refused to be swayed. What then? He thought. Then I will still have the love of my life by my side. Jungkook, then I would rather abandon a bloodline than abandon the woman who stood by me through everything. She gave me love and strength without asking for anything in return. You will never understand. And if being a Jeon means I have to cast her aside, then I don't want to be part of this family. Now leave before I do something we both regret. His voice was steady, but inside a storm raged. His family had tried to break him, but he stood tall for Ryan, for Lily. His family's legacy was nothing compared to the legacy of love they were building together. Mr. John, fine, but mark my words, you are making a mistake. This love won't last forever. he muttered, feeling defeated. When Jungkook spoke, his voice steady, unwavering. Jungkook, then I'll prove you wrong. Every day I'll show you that love is more powerful than money or legacy. The words felt like a promise, an oath to Ryan and to himself. He would fight for her, for them, no matter the cost. He turned to Ryan, who had quietly watched the exchange. Tears welled in her eyes, but there was a weak but grateful smile on her lips. Jungkook softly, almost breaking, now leave, and don't come back until you can respect my family. His voice was cracked with the weight of what he was saying. He had made his choice. He had chosen his family, his real family. He wasn't turning back. With no more words left to say, his parents walked away, their footsteps echoing in the silence. He turned to look at Vian, and his heart shattered at the sight of Vian crying. Her body was shaking, trembling under the weight of her emotion. Without a second thought, he rushed to her, pulling her into his arms. She clung to him desperately, sobbing uncontrollably. He whispered soothing words, his voice cracked with the worry and love. Jungkook, everything will be fine. You don't have to worry. I'm here only for you and Lily. I promise I won't break it this time. But as he held her, Ryan's voice faltered, the words caught in her throat. Ryan, Jungkook, I don't know if you believe me or not, but even after all this, I love. Lily, Mama, what's wrong with Mama? Jungkook turned around, trying to steady his breath as his heart raced, the fear too evident to hide. He couldn't let Lily see what's happening. Not yet. He needed to stay strong for her. Jungkook, Lily, listen, sweetheart. You know Mama is a little weak right now. He choked back a sob, his voice breaking as he struggled to hold himself together. Lily nodded innocently, her doe eyes filled with concern. Jungkook, yes, so I am taking Mama to a super powerful uncle who will give her some power and then Mama will be strong again. Jungkook, yes, sweetheart, yes, you, me, and Mama, but for that you have to stay home with Auntie, okay? Be a good girl for me. Lily's small voice trembled as she looked up at him. Lily, Daddy, please come soon with Mama. She spoke before leaving his side. Her words trembled, but he nodded and turned to Ryan. Jungkook, I will. I'm not going to lose her. Not like this. Not when we have just started find our way back to each other. Leaning forward, his forehead almost touched her. He whispered, his voice barely audible, the rawness of his emotion evident. Jungkook, please fight for us this time. Jungkook could barely sit still at the door closed behind her. He paced the sterile hallway, his mind filled with frantic, silent prayers. Each minute that passed felt like an eternity, the seconds stretching into forever. Finally, after what he felt like hours, Dr. Min approached him. His expression was weary, the weight of the what he had just witnessed in the air clearly taking its toll. Jungkook's breath caught in his throat. The uncertainty was too much to bear. Jungkook's eyes locked onto him, desperate for any news. Jungkook, please, Dr. Min, what happened? What's going on with her? Dr. Min sighed, his face grim. Dr. Min gave him one final look before heading to the operating room. Jungkook remained behind, alone in the sterile room. Jungkook, please, Ryan, don't leave me. I can't lose you. Not after everything. Please don't leave us without you. Stay with me. Please, I'm begging you, don't leave me. A desperate plea to the universe, begging for a miracle. His mind raced through every moment he had with her, for the tender glances to the laughter they had shared. All he could hold on to was the hope that she would come back, that they could survive this together. Jungkook, you think you are getting rid of me that easily? He whispered, pulling her closer, wrapping his arms around her waist, and she circled her hands around his neck, her smile softening. Meanwhile, little Lily stirred in her sleep, her eyes blinking open. When she saw Ryan, her face lit up with joy. Lily, Mama, she called, stretching her tiny arms towards her. Both Ryan and Jungkook smiled, walking towards her. Ryan scooped Lily up, nuzzling her with a laugh as Jungkook wrapped his arms around both of them. The three of them were finally together, and Jungkook knew he would cherish every moment, hold on to every piece of their lives because he was gone through the pain when he was about to lose everything. Ryan settled into his arms, her voice soft but steady. Ryan, look like you will have to put up with me for a little while longer. Jungkook chuckled, pressing a gentle kiss on her forehead. Jungkook, forever would not be long enough.